What's good, everybody? It's the Climbing with Cap show. UFC 304 is going to be iconic. Shout out to the champ, Leon Edwards. I'm surprised he's the 170 champion, to be honest. I still thought it would be Kamaru Usman. It slipped away from him with the leg kick in the second fight with Leon. But props to Leon. We got to give him his flowers. He's 22-3, won no contest in the UFC, beat Usman twice, who Usman was the pound-for-pound champion for a couple years. I mean, Usman was at the top of his game for years. You know, shout out to Kamaru Usman. I do think he's on his tail end of his career at this point. But, you know, for Leon, he beat Nate Diaz. Even though Nate Diaz won like 2 minutes of that fight, at the end of the fight, that's the only part that Nate won. But he beat Nate. He beat Colby Covington. And he's going against his boy, Belal Muhammad, for a second time. They fought back in 2021, and it was a no contest from an eye poke from Leon, but Leon was leading that fight up into that eye poke. But, you know, for Muhammad, it's like, dude, you're going to have to do something different. You cannot stand with Leon Edwards. Leon's going to pick you apart. He's going to throw his jabs. He's going to throw his leg kicks that he does so well. It's just like, what is Belal going to do? Like, I think Leon Edwards, this is an easy victory for him. I think he's going to win this by landslide. Even if he wins by decision, he's going to win literally every single round. Now, Belal might get 1 or 2 rounds, but it's like, what's he going to do? We know he can't stand with them, and he really can't grapple with Leon Edwards. We saw Leon Edwards grapple with the best grapplers like Usman, like Covington. Covington got him down a couple times, but, you know, Leon Edwards got right back up. That's what champions do. They get right back up, they deal with adversity, and they go through it. So shout out to Leon Edwards, man. He's the 170 champion for a reason, and he's still the champ right now. You know, after all these days, man, you know, Leon Edwards wanted to fight. I was hearing was he wanted to fight at UFC 300 or 301 or even 303 when McGregor pulled out with a toe injury. There were so many variables that went into this, but for Leon Edwards, man, I got to give him his flowers, dude. He's the champion for a reason. I think he's going to run right through Muhammad for a second time. Even in their first fight, Leon Edwards was getting momentum before the eye poke, you know, so I just think it's great, you know, for the UFC. But, you know, for Muhammad, it's just like, yes, he just beat Gilbert Burns by decision, you know, last year. That was a 5-round fight. You know, he won by decision. Gilbert Burns is a dog as well. But I just think, what's he going to do to Leon Edwards to become champion? I just don't think he has enough in his arsenal to do that. I don't think he's got enough to do it. I really don't. You know, unless he utilizes his takedown and keeps Leon Edwards down for a long time, I think that could change the fight. But overall, I'm going Leon Edwards either by decision or by knockout. And I'm leaning more towards knockout right now. I think Leon Edwards is going to knock him out. I think he's going to catch Belal, you know, off his guard. I think Beal's going to be ready for the leg kicks. It's going to be through a punch. I think Leon Edwards is going to knock Belal from a punch. That's what's going to cause him to get knocked out. That's my prediction for the main event. But I like Leon Edwards to win no matter what. Put everything on it. Put your mortgage. Put everything you own in your entire life on Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be all Leon Edwards. Take off, Leon. Let's go. And then we got Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blaydes. You know, Tom Aspinall is 14-3 in the UFC. Really caught a lot of wave, right? You know, wants to fight John Jones. Everybody's saying John Jones is dunking Tom Aspinall, which I think is funny. I think that's hilarious. I really do. You know, John Jones never lost in the UFC. Pump your brakes here. Okay, that fight still might happen at the end of this year, if not the beginning of next year. But Tom Aspinall, you know, he's fought Curtis Blaydes back in 2022, and Curtis Blaydes won. What happened was Tom Aspinall's knee looked like it gave out 15 seconds in the fight. That was it. And then Tom lost that fight. That was back in 2022. Ever since then, both these fighters have fought twice. So they understand what's at stake now. You know, obviously Tom Aspinall didn't want to go down with a knee injury when he first fought Curtis Blaydes. You know, obviously I do think Tom would have won that fight. My bet, my money is going on Tom Aspinall here. I think he's going to run through Curtis Blaydes. I think he's going to knock Curtis Blaydes out. That's how you're going to have to beat Curtis Blaydes. It's not going to be through style, through, you know, cute points. How do I look? You know, how do my trunks look? You know, how does my outfit look for UFC? No, dude. You get in there and get the dub. And I think Tom Aspinall is going to bring the arsenal. I think he's going to knock Curtis Blaydes out. You know, obviously if he stays healthy. Now, however, Curtis Blaydes, he's 18-4 in the UFC, won no contest. He lost to guys like Derek Lewis, who has the most knockouts in UFC history. He lost to Francis Ngannou, former heavyweight champion of the world. So Curtis Blades is no joke. He's a dog. And I think if he keeps this fight standing, I think Curtis Blades has a great opportunity to win this fight. However, if this fight doesn't stand, if Tom Aspinall shoots for some takedowns here, even if they do stand, I still like I like Tom Aspinall. Even if Tom wants this fight to stand, it's going to stand. However, if Tom it feels uncomfortable standing, I expect Tom Aspinall to have a couple of shoots. I think he's going to shoot for a couple takedowns. I really do. I just think Tom Aspinall, he has absolutely power. When you're in the heavyweight division, every heavyweight has power to knock you out, however the case may be. You know, you can see the punch coming, you can't. It's the punches that you don't see coming that typically knock you out. So I just think if Tom gets a little uncomfortable on his feet, I do think he's going to shoot for takedowns. He's going to utilize that takedowns and just try to control Curtis Blades and get the dub here. I think Tom Aspinall, what's at stake here is Tom understands that he's got to win by a great margin because he wants to fight Jon Jones, right? He wants to fight guys like Alex Pereira in the heavyweight division. Well, this is the fight. If Tom Aspinall wants to fight Jon Jones or Alex Pereira next, I think he needs to win by knockout. He's got to beat Curtis Blades by knockout. There's no way around it. You cannot win by decision here. Yes, you still might get those fights, but if you want a guaranteed big fight next, if you're Tom Aspinall, you need to go in here and you need to win by knockout. You need to punch him. You need to knock him out with a couple hands, and that's that. That's what you need to do, and I think Tom Aspinall has the recipe to knock Curtis Blades out. That's why I'm doing that. So my money's on Tom Aspinall over Curtis Blades at UFC 304. It's going to be iconic. I cannot wait for the co-main, but I love Tom Aspinall to win and get his revenge that what happened back in 2022 with the knee injury that forced him out within the first 20 seconds. So I think Tom Aspinall's here for revenge. He's here to make a statement here and say, hey, I understand I'm the interim heavyweight champion. I want to be the heavyweight undisputed champion. I want to fight Jon Jones next. That's what Tom Aspinall needs to say on the mic when he wins this fight at UFC 304 in a couple weeks. That's what Tom Aspinall needs to do. Handle business. Business will come to you. Take off Tom Aspinall. I like him by knockout. And then we got Bobby Green versus Paddy Pimblett. This is going to be an iconic fight as well. Bobby Green, he's been a vet, been in the UFC for a long time. 32-15-1, won no contest. Paddy Pimblett, he's the up-and-comer, right? 21-3 in the UFC. You know, he just beat Tony Ferguson. I believe that was at UFC 300. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just like, dude, Tony Ferguson, he should have retired 3 or 4 years ago. He's washed up. If I'm Paddy Pimblett, I think he needs to work on his cardio because that fight that I saw him against Tony Ferguson, he gassed out. In the third round, he was gassed. So, like, if you're Paddy here, I understand you're young. You know, you got all this money and fame right now. But at the end of the day, you know, Rowdy's going to hit you in the UFC. So if you're Paddy, if Rowdy's going to hit you against Bobby Green, you need to be ready. You need to have your cardio up to top. You don't need to be getting tired in the middle of round 2. You just cannot do that. If you want to become champion in the UFC, you cannot get tired in round 2. You can't be gassing after 1 round. You can't be gassed when you're in the 3rd round. Because come championship fights in the 4th and 5th round, what's going to happen when you're in the 4th? You're going to be toasted, dude. Your cardio's shot. Everything's shot. So I just think if you're Paddy Pimblett, just work on the little basic things. But I think in this fight against Bobby Green, I think Paddy needs to go for takedowns. I don't think he wants to stand with Bobby Green, even though he probably does have a little bit better stand-up than Bobby Green. I think Bobby Green has quicker hands than Paddy. I really do. I think he's got quicker hands than Paddy by a small margin, but that's just enough to get a couple more pieces in. You know, you get the 5 combo meal with the soda, that's what you're going to get. So I think if Bobby Green's coming in here wanting to throw hands, I think Paddy needs to mix it up here, just like he did in the Tony Ferguson fight. Mix it up. You know, throw a couple leg kicks and then throw a shoot on takedowns. You know, level change. You know, throw the body shots, throw the uppercuts, just throw mix and match shots, but overall level change. You're going to throw the leg kicks and then shoot for the takedown. Do different types of things. If you're Paddy Pimblett, you're young, you're a hungry lion. I think it makes sense for me to go Paddy right here. However, if Bobby Green does win this fight, it's going to be by knockout. That's how it's going to be. I think Bobby Green, he is, like I said, he's got quick hands. He needs this fight standing. If I'm Bobby Green and I'm coaching for Bobby Green, I'm his coach, I'm telling him, look, you need to keep your distance. You need to counter Paddy. Okay, he's going to shoot for takedowns. We know this. We know when he's going to do it. He loves to do it. After he throws a couple combinations, he's going to shoot for takedowns. I just think if you're Bobby Green here, you just got to be ready for everything. You got to be ready to go against the cage. You got to be ready to go work on your back. But the thing is, if you're Bobby Green, I want you to keep the distance. When he gets close, throw a couple jabs and then dip out. Just move. You always want to stay moving. That's what happens when UFC fighters get knocked out, is when the second or 2-3 seconds where they just got caught standing, got caught froze, just weren't moving the right direction. One mistake is all it takes in the UFC, just like in real life, your life is it. That's it. It's over with, straight up. So it's a fine line, but right now I'm leaning more towards Paddy Pimblett, the younger fighter, the hungrier fighter right now. And I think, this fight's going to be interesting, even though Bobby Green did beat Tony Ferguson by arm triangle a couple of years ago. So these fighters are very similar. We look at the styles and realize, Bobby Green and Paddy, they have similar tendencies. They like to throw jabs. They like to move a little awkwardly on their feet. But I would say overall, Paddy, he needs to win this fight. He's the younger fighter. He's probably going to go favorite. Right now, he's slight favorite. So, obviously, I'm going to go favorite. So, it looks like I'm going to go Leon Edwards, Tom Aspinall, and Paddy, for the 3 main fights at UFC 304. It just makes sense to me. It makes sense for me to go Tom Aspinall. It really does. I would say out of all these fights, the most comfortable pick I am comfortable with is Leon Edwards. I was going to say Tom Aspinall, but it's Leon Edwards. Leon has already fought Beal. He's already fought him. It really was dominating before the eye poke, before the no contest. So I just think overall right now, my most confident pick is Leon Edwards, the current champion at 170. He's going to go right through Muhammad. Muhammad's going to look silly. Beal is going to look like he's going to go back to being ranked in the top 10 and not the top 5 right now. That's what it's going to look. However, unless he just looks crazy, unless Beal just somehow just takes Leon Edwards down every single round of this fight, that's the only way, and that's not going to happen. I love Leon Edwards to beat Beal. I love Tom Aspinall to win by knockout over Curtis Blades. You heard it from Cap, no cap. I love Tom Aspinall to win by knockout. You heard it. And then Paddy versus Bobby, that's going to be a banger. It could go either way. I'm leaning more towards Paddy. If Bobby Green wins, it's going to be by knockout. I cannot wait for these fights. It's UFC 304. It's the Cloudwood Cavs show. Let's go!